My career ended 30 seconds after my name appeared on the global call, and I understood that before a single 7 seconds accusation was spoken. My name is Daniel Weiss, and for 8 years I had worked in clinical trial logistics for one of the 15 seconds largest pharmaceutical companies in Europe. The kind of company whose logo appears in hospital corridors and whose 20 seconds mistakes never make the news. I was not a public figure inside the organization. 27 seconds I was a background role, a global clinical supply lead responsible for making sure experimental drugs reach 35 seconds trial sites across continents under strict temperature, timing, and regulatory constraints. I worked from 40 seconds wherever the crisis was hottest. That morning, it was Zurich, a borrowed glass conference room overlooking the river, 49 seconds sterile and quiet, my laptop humming on a table that smelled of disinfectant and old coffee. The global status meeting 57 seconds had started like every other one. Faces from Basel, New Jersey, Singapore, 1 minute, 3 seconds Prague, all flattened into muted rectangles. Everyone pretending this was routine. The study in question was a 1 minute, 11 seconds late-stage oncology trial already under pressure from regulatory delays and border inspections. Nothing unusual in 1 minute, 18 seconds this world, nothing we hadn't managed before. I was prepared to give a factual update. Instead, my manager spoke first. 1 minute, 27 seconds Richard Hale had been promoted fast, the kind of leader who mastered optics but never carried operational weight. When he cleared his throat and said my name, 1 minute, 36 seconds I noticed something that made my stomach tighten. He was smiling, not nervous. 1 minute, 42 seconds not angry, but satisfied. He didn't ask for my report. He didn't ask for context. He said calmly, we need to 1 minute, 51 seconds address a failure in clinical supply leadership and let the word failure hang across time zones. I felt heat rise in 201 minutes. 1 second my chest. He continued, accusing me of poor planning, negligence, and worst of all, potential risk to patient 209 minutes, 9 seconds continuity. In this industry, those words are poison. I watched the reactions unfold in real time. Legal stopped typing. Quality assurance looked down. 221 minutes, 21 seconds regional heads leaned closer to their screens. I wanted to speak. I wanted to explain that the delay he was 228 minutes, 28 seconds referencing came from a customs hold caused by a regulator's surprise audit. 233 minutes, 33 seconds that he himself had instructed me verbally to reroute supply without escalating. That the cost-saving reallocation he demanded had reduced our 242 minutes, 42 seconds buffer stock. Every decision was documented. Every deviation was signed. 247 minutes, 47 seconds, most of them by him. But I also understood something else in that moment. This was not spontaneous. 255 minutes, 55 seconds Richard wasn't improvising. He was executing a plan. He spoke as if the conclusion had already been reached. 3:03 minutes, 2 seconds framing the narrative with practiced precision, using language designed not to invite discussion, but to establish 3:09 minutes, 9 seconds record. He ended by saying the role might need restructuring, a sentence that everyone on that call understood as 3:17 minutes, 17 seconds removal. Then he thanked me for my efforts and moved on. No one defended me, not because they didn't know the 3:20 for 3 minutes, 24 seconds truth, but because defending meant standing against the person who controlled budgets, promotions, and future access. When the call ended, the 3:30 for 3 minutes, 34 seconds silence in the room felt heavier than the accusations. I stared at my reflection in the black screen and saw 3:41 3 minutes, 41 seconds. A man who had spent years absorbing risk for others, staying late to prevent escalations, smoothing over deviations. 3:48 3 minutes, 48 seconds, so leadership presentations stayed clean. Slowly, the past year replayed itself in my head with brutal clarity. 3:58 3 minutes, 58 seconds. The pressure to close issues faster. The requests to keep sensitive decisions off email. The subtle warnings not to 4:07 4 minutes, 7 seconds involve compliance unless absolutely necessary. 4:11 4 minutes, 11 seconds. Richard hadn't just humiliated me. He had positioned me as the future explanation for problems he knew were 4:19 4 minutes, 19 seconds coming. I opened the trial documentation on my laptop and scrolled through the protocols. My name appeared everywhere. 4:28 4 minutes, 28 seconds as designated responsible person, the legal anchor tying operational reality to regulatory accountability. 4:37 4 minutes, 37 seconds. I remembered a conversation 6 weeks earlier when I had warned Richard that accumulated exceptions were becoming dangerous. His response had been simple. 4:48 4 minutes, 48 seconds. We'll deal with it later. Just keep things moving. Later had arrived and it was wearing my name. The anger came 4:56 4 minutes, 56 seconds last, slow and cold. I understood then that staying would destroy me. Leaving 5:0 for 5 minutes, 4 seconds quietly would bury me, and confronting him openly would only validate the story he was already telling. What I had and 5:13 5 minutes, 13 seconds. What he underestimated was responsibility. 5:17 5 minutes, 17 seconds. My signature was the reason uncomfortable truths remained invisible. 5:20 to 5 minutes, 22 seconds. Sitting alone in that glass room, I accepted something I had resisted for years. The system depended on my 5:35 minutes, 30 seconds silence, and I was done providing it. As I closed my laptop and reached for my phone to draft a message, I had never 5:39 5 minutes, 39 seconds intended to write. I knew there was no version of the future where nothing broke, and for the first time in my career, I was prepared to let it happen. 5:55 minutes, 50 seconds. The night after the call, I didn't sleep, not because I was angry in the loud way people expect, but because my mind kept circling the same question. 5:59 5 minutes, 59 seconds with clinical precision. How much damage would occur if I stopped protecting the system the way I always had? I lay in my apartment, staring at the ceiling, 6:10 6 minutes, 10 seconds replaying every decision I had ever justified for the sake of momentum, 6:14 6 minutes, 14 seconds every deviation I had closed with language soft enough to pass audits, but strong enough to keep regulators at bay. 6:20 to 6 minutes, 22 seconds. Part of me wanted to believe Richard had crossed a line impulsively, that this could be corrected with a conversation. 6:28 6 minutes, 28 seconds. But another part, quieter and far more dangerous, had already accepted the truth. He had chosen me as insulation. 6:37 6 minutes, 37 seconds. If something broke, it would break on my name. That realization brought fear because what I was considering wasn't 6:40 for 6 minutes, 44 seconds revenge in the emotional sense.